All right, let's dive right in. Over the next few minutes, we're going to break down the invisible digital threats that are all around us. Think of this as your field guide to understanding, spotting, and defending against them. Let's get to it.
So let me ask you something. Think about some of the biggest, craziest news stories from the last few years. You've got a hospital's entire system getting frozen, a massive government data leak, and a simple email that tricked millions of people. They seem totally unrelated, right? Well, they're all tied together by one powerful and often hidden connection. I'm sure you remember this one, WannaCry. Back in 2017, this thing was a monster. It was a global cyber attack that literally brought hospitals, businesses, and all sorts of infrastructure to a grinding halt by locking up all their data and demanding a ransom. Just chaos.
Or how about something that maybe hit a little closer to home? The Google Docs phishing scam. I bet a lot of you saw this one. You get this super innocent-looking email, looks like a friend is sharing a document, but nope, it was a clever trap designed to suck up your entire email history. And then, of course, there's the Edward Snowden leak from 2013. This one was a total game changer because it showed the world that some of the biggest threats don't come from shadowy hackers in a basement somewhere. They can come from right inside an organization. So a global ransomware attack, a personal email scam, an insider leak, they all fall under one big umbrella: cyber threats.
So, that brings us right to our first stop. Before you can fight something, you have to know what it is, right? We're heading into what I like to call the digital danger zone to get a crystal clear definition of a cyber threat.
And here it is, the official definition. But what does that actually mean? Look, a cyber threat isn't just a computer virus. It's any malicious activity in the digital world. The goal could be to steal your data, shut down a website, or just cause pure chaos. If it's digital and it's malicious, it's a cyber threat.
And you've got to remember, these threats don't just appear out of thin air. They're built by people, by groups, all with their own motives. You've got your lone hackers, you've got organized cybercriminal groups that operate like actual businesses, and you even have nation-states using this stuff for geopolitical moves. And, like we saw with Snowden, sometimes the call is coming from inside the house.
And this right here is why we're talking about all this. It's the bottom line. Understanding the what, the who, and the why behind these threats isn't just some academic exercise, it's the absolute foundation of any real defense. You just can't protect yourself from something you don't understand.
Okay, so we know what a threat is. Now, let's pull back the curtain and look at the attacker's playbook. How do they actually get in? How do they find those little chinks in our digital armor?
Most successful attacks aren't some single genius moment of hacking like in the movies. They're more like a chain reaction of small failures. It almost always starts with a person, tricking a user with a phishing email. Step 1. Once they click that bad link, the attacker uses that opening to exploit a technical weakness, like software that hasn't been updated. Step 2. And from there, if the network is wide open on the inside, they can move around freely, turning one person's mistake into a full-blown disaster.
Which leads us right here to the digital battlefield. Because that's what this is. It's a constant arms race fought with code. And believe me, both sides are heavily armed. This really shows you that cat and mouse game I'm talking about. On the left, you've got the attacker's toolkit. Nmap is like them rattling every digital doorknob to see what's unlocked. Hydra is a tool they use to just hammer away at passwords until one breaks. But for every move, there's a countermove. The defenders, the blue team, use tools like Suricata to get an alert the second that doorknob gets rattled, and endpoint protection to stop malware before it can even run. It's a constant back and forth. Okay, enough theory. Let's ground this in reality. We're going to open up a few case files from the headlines to see the massive impact these attacks have, and more importantly, how they've evolved over time. This timeline really tells a story, and frankly, it's a scary one. You start in 2010 with Stuxnet, a super sophisticated state-sponsored weapon using secret exploits. Fast forward just 7 years, and one of those leaked government exploits, called Eternal Blue, became the engine for WannaCry, a criminal free-for-all that anyone could use. It just goes to show how quickly the most powerful weapons can end up in everyone's hands.
1.35 terabits per second. I mean, what does that number even mean? That was the size of the DDoS attack that hit GitHub. To put that in perspective, imagine trying to take a sip of water from a fire hose that's blasting you with the force of every hydrant in New York City all at once. That's the idea. Just overwhelm the target with a fire hose of junk traffic until it collapses.
All right, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds pretty intense, maybe even a little overwhelming. But here's the good news. Now we get to pivot from the problem to the solution. Let's talk about how you actually build your defenses.
The key here is that there's no single magic bullet. Good defense is all about layers. It starts with simple stuff that has a huge impact, like multi-factor authentication, that little code you get on your phone. It makes stolen passwords pretty much useless. It means doing the basics, like updating your systems to plug security holes. And maybe the most important piece, training people. Because a smart, aware user is sometimes the best firewall you could ever ask for.
And when we talk about defending against things like ransomware, this right here is the golden rule. It's called the 3-2-1 backup rule, and it's a lifesaver. It's simple. Have at least 3 copies of your important data on 2 different kinds of storage, and make sure one of those copies is completely off-site, disconnected from everything. That is a recipe for being able to recover from almost anything. So look, everything we've walked through today, from phishing to ransomware to defense, that's your Cybersecurity 101. It's the foundation. But trust me, once you have that down, the journey is just getting started.
Because once you move past the basics, you start running into a whole other level of challenge. Things like advanced persistent threats, or APTs. These aren't the loud, smashing grab attacks. No, these are quiet, stealthy, long-term campaigns. Think digital spies, often backed by governments, who are designed to get inside a network and stay there for months, or even years, completely undetected. And that's really the point of all this. It's all connected. Understanding that simple phishing email gives you the foundation to one day understand a complex nation-state attack. It is a journey of continuous learning, and what we covered today, this is your launchpad.
So I'll just leave you with this one thought. The attackers, the tools, the threats themselves, they are all getting smarter every single day. The only real question is, are you? Thanks for joining us.